So the next development will be the system approach and distance universities from 1960s to 1971. So in 1964, Charles Wedemeyer led what became known as the AIM project or IAM project. This is an initiative that introduced a systems approach to distance learning. So instead of relying on a single instructor to handle everything, the project demonstrated that teaching could be organized into specialized roles. So instructional designers, subject experts, media producers, and facilitators could work together to deliver courses using multiple technologies such as radio, television, and even telephone conferencing. So this approach made distance education more structured, scalable, and effective. So the success of these ideas influenced the creation of one of the most important institutions in distance education history. So in 1961, the Open University in the United Kingdom was established, officially opening to students in 1971. So what made this university revolutionary was its open admission policy. So unlike traditional universities, it allowed students to enroll without the usual formal entrance qualifications. So they focus instead on expanding the educational opportunities to a wider population. This was presented by Padulina and colleagues and Simonson and colleagues. So the impact of the Open University was significant. It helped bring greater legitimacy and prestige to distance education and serve as a model for similar institutions around the world, including the initiatives in Japan, in Canada, and in Pakistan. So next, of course, will be the distance education in Asia and in the Philippines, happened from 1978 to 1995. So in Southeast Asia, a major milestone occurred in 1978 with the establishment of Sukhothai Thammasat Open University in Thailand. So it became the first open university in the region and was specifically designed to provide higher education opportunities to people who could not attend traditional universities due to distance, work responsibilities, or other limitations. So a few years later, in 1984, Universitas Terbuka was established in Indonesia. So unlike many traditional universities that later added distance program, this institution was created from the beginning as a fully distance-based university. So its mission was to expand access to higher education across Indonesia's many islands and diverse communities. So in our country, the Philippines, there is a similar initiative also emerged in 1995 with the founding of our very own University of the Philippines Open University as a constituent university of the University of the Philippines system. So it was established to make quality higher education more accessible to Filipinos through flexible and distance learning programs. So these institutions illustrate how Asian countries adopted the Open University model to democratize higher education, allowing learners across the entire nations to pursue degrees regardless of the location, their schedule, or personal circumstances. Now we're going to focus on the digital age, which will be the web and the MOOCs. So that happened from the late 1980s up to present. By the late 1980s, fiber optic communication enabled live, two-way audio and video instruction across long distances. A well-known example of this was the Iowa Communications Network in the United States. so which connected more than 1,000 classrooms through an advanced telecommunications infrastructure. This allowed teachers and the students in different locations to communicate instantly, making distance education far more interactive and collaborative than earlier broadcast models. So the next major transformation came in the 1990s with the development of the World Wide Web by Tim Berners-Lee. So the internet made it possible for educational materials, discussions, and assessments to be delivered online, leading to the rapid growth of e-learning platforms and virtual classrooms. And in the recent years, another major development has been the rise of the massive open online courses or the MOOCs. So these courses are described as massive because they can enroll tens of thousands of learners at the same time. Open because many offer free or widely accessible course materials. And also online because they are delivered fully through digital platforms. So often they are asynchronously so students can learn at their own pace. Many MOOCs feature course content from prestigious universities such as in our university, the University of the Philippines Open University, making high quality learning resources available to people. However, scholars like Simonson and colleagues note an ongoing debate because many MOOCs operate as pre-packaged learning systems with limited instructor interaction. Some educators question whether they fully meet the traditional definition of education. And as a result, their long-term role and impact in distance education continue to be discussed and evaluated up to this day. So as distance education entered the digital era with the web and MOOCs transforming how learners access content, scholars also began asking deeper questions. What actually makes distance education effective? And this is where theory becomes essential. So according to Simonson and colleagues, theory acts as the touchstone for guiding decisions in the field. And one influential framework was proposed by Keegan in 1996. He classified distance education theories into three major groups. So the first group focuses on independence and autonomy, highlighting the learner's freedom to control the pace, the place, and the style of learning. The second group, the industrialization of teaching, emphasizes how distance education can function like an industrial system, where tasks are divided among specialists to educate large number effectively. This perspective was developed first by Peters, whose work in the 1960s and 1988 publication detailed how teaching processes could be standardized, replicated, and scaled. And the third and last group is the interaction and communication theories. So this stresses that learning, even at a distance, relies on meaningful communication that is between the teacher and the learner. So that was introduced by Borge Holmberg. He championed this idea through his concept of the guided didactic conversation, emphasizing dialogue and connection as central to effective learning.